What's going on, Digital Wildcatters? Welcome to another episode of Oil and Gas Startups Podcast. This week, we've got Lolaark Vision. We've got Manuel on the show today. I can tell Manuel's going to be a good guest. He's Greek, and you know, one thing that I've always found with Greek people is that they're just a good time. So, Manuel, welcome to the show.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Wildcatters audience. I hope you're not going to take the cutter and cut me wildly during this show. I have my host, so I'll let him ask the first question.
All right. Tell me a little bit of what is Lolaark Vision. Tell me the high level, and we're going to start diving into this.
First of all, I would start with the name. Lolaark is a Sanskrit word, and it means the sun that is rising in the morning, just hovering over the horizon. And because the horizon in India is just as south as the horizon in the United States, the South United States, where we are, where our lovely oil and gas industry is based, all that is orange.
Okay.
That's why, hence, our logo is inspired from.
Got you. Yeah, I'm looking at the logo here right now as you're talking. And so
that means Lolaark. Now, the next thing is the vision, and we work with vision applications. And if in a nutshell, I want to describe the company, we don't just do one thing. We are the Swiss knife of imaging and video.
Okay.
So we have a software that can be adapted in many different aspects and applications.
Okay, so
it's a platform, not just one piece of software.
So an imaging enhancement platform.
We don't only do enhancement, we help to dig the useful information out of images. When, first of all, let's say you have a hazy picture.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, we had lots of rain. I was driving to school. The visibility was very, very low. People were driving slowly. Well, Lolaark Vision technology can help you view more clearly even through that hazy
Interesting.
And,
yeah, so I'm reading your website here as you're talking, and it says that many imaging operations are performed in bad visibility conditions, leading to poor scene perception by humans and machines. So some common examples are, when you're talking about driving conditions, was probably, autonomous vehicles and remotely operated vehicles. Yes. And so let's talk about one. We can go into autonomous vehicles here in a bit because I'm really big on that. But like remotely operated vehicles is something that's applicable to the oil and gas industry. And so, how are you guys using this in industry?
We haven't used the industry yet. We're not going to develop a standalone application for autonomous vehicles. What we want to do to be a plug-in, because people have a perception that, artificial intelligence can now solve every problem on the planet. That's absolutely not true. I had an example last night at 11:30. Now it's going the tail part, the Greek part, but the tail is not a tale, it's a true story, actually. Student starts texting me frantically in about 11 p.m. on Microsoft Teams and telling me, "Oh, I did some experiments and the results are not coming good. They're not coming as the first results we had, which were stellar. Now I changed the training set, as you told me, and the test set. And what I did is basically I took let's say 20 images from the training set and threw them on the test set and took an equal number of images from the test set and put them in the training set. I can reshuffle the deck of cards. And that gave tremendously different results. What does that mean? That what we built and we were proud of was not robust. Same thing with artificial intelligence. Now, how much do you value your life? What is your acceptable risk? I put you in a car and I tell you, I put you on a plane and I tell you, look, I'm going to buy you to give you a free first-class ticket. You're going to eat lobster, you're going to eat steak, the best steak ever, on 30,000 feet. But there is a 2% chance of this plane crashing. Because, we've got a few things with our algorithms that we haven't sorted out. And if the pilots overcome the problem, it's okay. But if not, you're going to die. Are you going to get the free ticket? It's 2%.
I don't know if I like steak and lobster that much.
That's a good answer. So you will not. Okay. So when we talk about self-driving vehicles or autonomous vehicles in general, we have to minimize the risk. And the risk will come when the conditions over which the system has been trained, has been used to, are unconventional. Mm-hmm. And this is going to happen only very few times in your life. Mm-hmm. The system will not encounter very often. Will encounter once in a lifetime or twice in a lifetime. This is what we try to make it more easy for the system to discern and dig out the information that is needed and at least say, hey, I see a risk here. You, the human, should try to take over and I can give you a better visual if you really want to take over. And that's exactly what our technology does. It cleans up the image to reduce the variability that takes the system out of its trained parameters.
This is really interesting to me. Very curious how the technology works. I'm trying to kind of get a mental image painted here. But before we do that, let's talk about your background.
My background is mathematics. I'm a professor of mathematics. My PhD and my bachelor's degree are in mathematics. I started my career as a theoretical mathematician. I always claim I'm a theoretical mathematician that always does a lot of applications. I wouldn't call myself applied mathematician. This is a term I coined to the general audience before they shut the door on my face and they say, oh, if you're not applied, you're not good for us. It's not white and black. There's all tons of gray in between. And a good theoretical mathematician who understands the difficulty and the challenge of applications is a very good mathematician to work with. And that led to Lolaark Vision.
Yeah, I think, you see this in petroleum engineering, for example. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of smart kids that come out of school in engineering, and they're extremely smart from a theoretical perspective. But then when it actually comes to application out in the field, there's a disconnect, and the good ones are the ones that can bridge that gap. So it's a spectrum more than binary black and white, right? And so
this is why we have to train them. And this is why it's important also that in all industries, you need to have bosses at all levels that understand the technical aspects. Mm-hmm. And this is one problem we've seen very clearly with BP and Deepwater Horizon. The upper echelons had people who were looking only at spreadsheets and did not understand the engineering risk. And this is something that I don't believe should be happening at any type of company, from a small one to a big one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree with you on that. So background, PhD, mathematician. Tell me about how you got to LoLaRk today. When did you start the company? How did you come up with the idea and the technology?
The idea came from actually the problem. I first encountered the problem of illumination variability and also poor illumination, poor imaging conditions. When I was working with a group at the University of Houston on a defense advanced research project, actually it was an intelligence advanced research project on facial recognition. And in facial recognition, as you put a hoodie on your face, and all of a sudden we have a shade, right, where we actually need to pick up most of the information, your eyes and your eyebrows. Mm-hmm. This is the this is where basically 80% of the recognition is going to come. Or you put a pair of sunglasses, dark sunglasses, slightly big, so they cover all this area. Those are called occlusions. I would stick with just, a shade on your face, like you want the hoodie casts. When you have this kind of problem, the algorithm is thrown off entirely, and many commercial algorithms are thrown off. That's why they ask you, look at the camera straight, because they want to pinch into your eyes to get what we call a frontal. Mm-hmm. Once we move a little bit off the frontal face, like this, like that, face recognition doesn't work well. It's prone to mistakes. Mm-hmm. And even very advanced algorithms are prone to mistakes. I isolated for some reason the problem of illumination because we submitted a paper. Over in the paper, I made a thesis that I couldn't support theoretically. And then the paper came back and said, well, that's a good idea, but it's too heuristic. So they rejected the paper. The referees didn't like it. And I didn't like the decision, but I understood that the decision was fair because we didn't elaborate. So I started digging with another graduate student whom I put on that problem, and then we developed an entire theory of what we would call illumination neutralization. And what is illumination neutralization? I want to make an image that is independent of the illumination conditions. So here, you have a nice video. Look, you got light there, light up here. So you try to create ambient uniform illumination. But what if this guy goes off? There will be a shade here. And how do we compensate? We actually extract an image that compensates for that loss and makes it as close to an image that would be taken under the uniform illumination conditions. And this is a signature image. It's not going to be something that you're going to like it. You would look like as if Van Gogh had painted you. But what would Van Gogh would pick the important parts, the important characteristics of your face that, for him would make an artistic impression. But for a system, the way we make it, a face recognition system or another system, they would make critical importance in identifying what's there, the objects that are in the scene, as we call.
Have you ever seen, I love the Van Gogh reference, because have you ever seen the Picasso's bull painting? And
yes,
I don't know if it's the essence of the bull, but it's essentially it's this abstract of a bull.
It's very abstract, but you can understand that it's a bull.
But he starts with a very detailed drawing of a bull, and then by the 9th iteration, it's just the elements of the bull that make you see it, but it's completely stripped off. And so
no, we don't do the Picasso, but what essentially we do a more faithful Van Gogh to reality. We're not expressionists in the way we restore images. We're rather realists, but we accentuate the lines. And we accentuate even the lines that are hidden inside the image. For example, when there is fog, when there is steam, when there is darkness, or when there is rain, or when you're underwater. In hazy waters, just as the ones we have in Galveston. And actually our first application, our first market product, which is ready, now we're presenting it to groups of naval architects so we can get third-party certifications for the effectiveness of the product when we have to do underwater inspections of marine assets, and there's oil and gas has lots of marine assets.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved the way that you framed this for me personally, because you mentioned in our studio we have controlled lighting in here. We've put a lot of thought and time into how do we get the lighting right, and so I was thinking, I was like, what can this technology be used to enhance, our video on our podcast? And you're like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's pulling up, structural lines and things of that nature. And so, okay, boom, it kind of frames that for me. When I was in Las Vegas, I think 3 years ago. It was right before COVID, and the Lyft cars there. You get on the Lyft app and it says, hey, do you want to take an autonomous vehicle? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to take an autonomous vehicle.
I would walk. I would crawl on my belly.
I took one 3 times. I got in one 3 times, and it's kind of cool. So, they had human drivers in there, one in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. And then they got a computer in the trunk that's processing all this information, but you can see, they got a screen put up, and you can see what the car is seeing. And so,
look, let me be fair with autonomous vehicles. I don't want really to discredit the work, to be so dismissive with just a stroke of a pen to the work of many people who are smart, actually. Autonomous vehicles will work well when you have clear GPS signal because they know the positioning. You don't have many intersections because the more intersections you have, the more likely it becomes to have, a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation of what the system sees, and you have good illumination conditions.
Yeah.
So don't take them in the night.
Yeah.
They're not constructed for that. The algorithms are not there yet.
Yeah,
we actually do offer the system with some modification because I said it's a Swiss knife, but the Swiss knife has many different knives for many different applications. So for every domain of application, we have to tweak our platform and make it more custom for that application.
Yeah, you have to make it custom made for that specific application.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why our application is a plugin and not a standalone.
Yeah.
So we can go to Lyft and tell them, okay, look, you got to drive in the night, okay? And you want autonomous vehicles in the night, but you don't want to make mishaps, okay? You don't want to have accidents. Therefore, you need to improve the system, how it takes the information. And if you use our software, before you throw the information to the computer, then the software will help you see what is in the night that is not really very visible by classical solutions.
So you brought up subsea marine use, which obviously oil and gas and energy as a whole. Offshore wind farms are becoming a big thing as well. And so lots of remote operated vehicles. And I've never personally dealt with the imaging from those vehicles, so I'm not sure the challenges that they run into. But I'm sure
even divers face challenges. So I'm not going to go. Let's say you have at this point you have 10,000 railway bridges and overpasses.
Yeah,
in the United States. How do we inspect them? Well, we don't really inspect them very well, or we don't know what happens about inspections because that's all up to the companies, but they are all in murky water. So the way to do the job is to start, first of all, with what we call side sonar. And the side sonar will do a high-level approach of the inspection. But then you want to see structurally details because you've seen some strange areas in the sonar, or there are areas in the sonar that you're not going to get any imaging at all because of thermal changes or because of turbulence in the water. Sonar is very volatile to that, especially when you go to high definition sonar. Then we come there. But what the sonar has done is that has narrowed the domain of inspection. Because even if we go in that water, we're basically testing our product at a super extreme limits. You're in the Mississippi River, you put your hand there and everything away from your elbow has disappeared.
Yeah, you can't see it.
You can't see it. Okay, you can't see it. Now, if your eye can see here, I guarantee that the camera because it has more optical sensor, will see here.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll make it, if the camera can see here, we'll make the camera see all the way to your microphone and probably even further.
Okay.
That's exactly what we do. We expand, and we within a certain range, let's say here, you're going to see us clearly, and you won't feel, hey, I'm not in the Mississippi all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It looks clear.
Yeah. I'm interested, just kind of diving into oil and gas applications. I saw some guys the other day online. They're all posting images of their FLIR cameras and using infrared to monitor methanes. And some of them are complaining about you really have to use it at a certain time of day to get better results. And so a lot of companies are using imaging for whether it's pipeline leaks or methane detection. Does Lolaark Vision have any applications?
Yes, we can apply our technology if we customize it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can customize it for every camera. And well, I had some research discussions with FLIR when I was doing, when I was submitting some proposals. We had some, we had support from FLIR, but we never got into this particular type of application. But yes, we can customize the product to be able, when you basically you're confused, why do you use a certain infrared to see the methane?
Mm-hmm.
Because the methane has a signature on a particular wavelength, and the camera is tuned to catch that wavelength. But some other imaging conditions like, darkness or humidity may make it not very visible. I tell you, the information is there. We don't create information out of nothing. We're not magicians. We retrieve information that the human eye or the camera cannot pick it up clearly enough for you to see it in an unambiguous way. That's what we do. We remove the ambiguity. And you will be able to see it. Now, I would love to work with these people. I would love to come in contact and talk to them and, exchange information and get data from them and see what we can do.
Yeah.
We can customize an application for them.
One thing that you just brought up there, one of my favorite things about science is that there's so many things that humans can't see or smell or feel or touch any of our senses, and that's why we're able to use tools to discover things that that we're not able to pick up on. And so I think that's a very cool thing to be able to enhance video to where we can pick up on those things. I'm sure there's a ton of, I'll ask you this question. What's your, if you had to pick like one thing that you're most excited to apply the technology to, because I think about like the uses in space travel and things of that nature, that these types of technologies can help humans get a better picture of what we're actually dealing with. What's your, what gets you most excited about the applications of the tech?
I wouldn't go far out on the universe. There's a universe hidden in us here, our neural system. And our neural system has not been investigated thoroughly because a type of microscopes we now use to be able to check live neural cells. The confocal, the laser microscopes, there are different types, confocal, multiphoton, bright field, all of those. But they use laser to excite the tissue, and the tissue reflects back to us, pretty much like what the dermatologists do, where they scan you with this violet light and they see lesions or spots on the skin. Similar thing, that's called fluorescence. We have used our technology on that, and we're actually experimenting. We haven't done something definite or finalized, but we see that sometimes in live animals like rats, what we have to examine over and over and over because we try to see what are the triggers, the genetic triggers of autism or of addiction. What are the keys that hold the key to addiction? What are the genetics, or what is the neural structure, or how the neural structure responds when we have addiction? These are things that we can only test on live tissue. We cannot test it on non-live tissue because once you kill the animal, the lab animal, it's gone.
Yeah.
You're stopped there. You have a fossil. You have a statue. You cannot learn how to operate on a Greek statue.
That's a really fascinating.
And our technology sometimes helps to bring up the cells that are not clearly visible. And most of times, the pathologists discard completely because, I'm not going to count this. Why don't you count this in the count? It's a cell. Oh, yeah, it's a cell, but I don't see it very well. Well, we can help you see it better. Oh, really?
That's a really fascinating answer to me. I'm fascinated by the human brain and how little we actually know about it. And even over the last 10 to 15 years, I mean, our understanding of how the brain operates, it used to be
I don't know how much time we have because, I can go on and on and on. No,
go on.
I'm a professor. I'm a professor. I can give you, if you don't have anybody for a podcast, I can offer a podcast every week. I can talk a lot.
We may have to
That's
give,
what
may have to give you a
do
podcast.
for living. Yeah.
No, I just think that
the blind podcasts.
The discovery of what's on this planet is still, mind-boggling. It's funny. I tell this story every once in a while, but I was working with a scientist from Shell. He was in Shell's research and development department in the Netherlands, and he had created this tool. And he was a aerospace engineer. And I was sitting there, and we're in the galley, and we're eating lunch. And I just asked him, I'm like, hey, why are you working on oil wells instead of working on, rockets and spaceships? Like, I'm fascinated by space. And he gave me an answer that's always stuck with me. He's like, in space, you can see what you're working on. He's like, in oil and gas, he's like, you can't see what you're working on. It's so much more challenging. He's like, I like working on this planet. And I just thought that was like, it kind of like stuck something in me. I'm like, yeah, we still have so much to discover on our planet. And now we're starting to develop the technologies that can help us see better and understand better.
Understand better and also sense. I'll go back to oil and gas, but that's not something that my company does. When you drill, you have so many sensors. And all of those sensors give you a lot of information. Sometimes information is useful. Some other times information is not useful. But sometimes it's very important to see what is the combination of different pieces of information. Humans can connect dots, but if they get inputs from 3 different sensors or 4 different sensors at a time, they get stuck because the brain is going to start attacking the problem that came first. That might not be the important one. Perhaps the sensor that came forth is providing the critical information, but that by itself may not be the most critical. But if you combine the first 3 and the 4th, then you understand criticality. Sometimes the brain cannot pick that quickly enough to avoid the deep water horizon. That's why artificial intelligence is good, because computers can learn to make those connections much faster than our brain because they work on electronics. Our brains they have an evolution that has worked for millions of years and can never take the speed of a computer, but we can do a lot more connections that a computer cannot make because it has not been taught to make. Artificial intelligence is not smarter than your dog when you tell it, pee there and not pee on my couch.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why we say you train the system, you don't educate the system.
Yes, exactly. I mean, all fascinating. We're gonna have to record some more podcasts, just kind of going deep on artificial intelligence.
I would like to just be able to have some time to just tell a few things about our Lolaark Vision and the vision of Lolaark Vision.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you real quick is, when did you guys start this, and what is the vision?
Oh, it started, the face recognition project, which basically triggered a lot of the research, started 8 years ago. And then about 5 years ago, we finished a PhD with my student. And that's where we did what we actually put in a mathematical formulation, what we actually have today as a product. And it took us time and experimentation to develop this into a software package.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very demanding software package. The concept to apply it is reasonable. Once you solve every problem, then you say, "Oh, was that so easy? I didn't expect it to be so easy." But before you solve it, it's just being a 120-year-old man to do 30 push-ups.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So after we solved it, then we had to deal with a lot of practical problems because you have high information exchange. We have 1080p videos, one incoming, one processed, and both have to be displayed synchronously at 30 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
And the lag from the camera time till we saw it on the screen, both of them, the clarified and the original, is just 10 milliseconds, roughly, which is very fast.
Yes.
Now, this is not a theoretical problem. We didn't make any great science doing that. That's, computer engineering, software engineering, I would say. Good software engineering, but it takes time to do it.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many things you need to iron. So last year, when we were close to having a product, we actually had a prototype. The prototype was working at a slower speed, 24 frames per second, and at a lower resolution, 720p. Then we started Lolaark Vision as a corporation. We started it, and we made the corporation, the paperwork, we filed the paperwork after we had gotten confirmation from StartEngine, which is a crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding platform, that they would love to take us on.
Mm-hmm.
And actually we had very good reception. So we're still raising. We have 13 days to go in this race.
Oh, nice.
So whoever wants, you can go to StartEngine, and then after you put the slash, just type Lolaark, LOLAARK. And we'll take you to the page and you can invest.
Awesome.
Invest today, and because Lolaark is a technology company which makes platforms for many verticals. We don't manufacture that pen only. We manufacture the concept of a pen. So we can make as many pens as you want, as many types as you want.
So really for you guys, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's autonomous vehicles, whether it's the energy industry, agriculture, you guys want to be the underlying platform.
Our product is actually ready. We basically do the beta right now. And that's why we have very limited distribution, because we want to see also how companies are using it. Companies need to be educated. It works with coaxial cables, and we have it available for divers and for ROVs as well, which use 1080p cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, just when you're talking about matching up frame rates and things, even when you're recording a podcast, if you have two different cameras and frame rates are off, like editors start chewing you out because they're like, hey, this doesn't match up. And so I imagine when you're using, real-time video for autonomous vehicles or whatever it is, I mean, that problem extrapolates times 1,000 and becomes so much harder. So we appreciate some of the video issues around here when we know about them. So, all right, guys. If you want to check out Lolaark, just give them a Google search. We'll put a link in the show notes, and then also got a few days left, a couple of weeks left on a capital raise on StartEngine, which I know the folks over at StartEngine. So check that out too. I'm gonna go check it out today. So by the time you're getting this here in a few days, you'll have about a week and a half left to go check that out. So Manuel, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me here.
Guys,
thank you. It was nice.
Yes, I told you, this is good. This is good. Manuel's a professor, so he's like, okay, what do I need prepared? I was like, hey, we're just coming in here and freestyling this. So it's not,
so you're professors.
All right, guys, if you like this episode, make sure to share it with a friend. Share it on LinkedIn. Helps us out a lot to get the word out for oil and gas startups. And we will catch you guys on the next one.